Hey, folks, welcome again back to Soaring Profits, another one of our live new technology type pieces. Obviously, I'm in a very fancy spot this evening, and
Yeah.
figured we jump on here quickly and go from there.
How
So
is Manhattan today?
that's where you are?
I thought that's where you were.
Yeah,
This is-
undisclosed location. That's how we'll play today. So did you catch some of our live stuff earlier today, Phil?
I looked at one of your video clips as it came in. It gave me a ding, and I watched it. It was unbelievable. It was great. It was about the lady who apparently her job is finance, and she misread finance that I understood. So I'm not sure how that happens because I'm illiterate when it comes to finances, and she's supposed to be a brainiac. And I don't know how she didn't foresee what's going on now. I don't get it, but
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what the point of the earlier kind of broadcast was when I did this, is that when this came out, like this, she comes out and she does an interview where she apologizes for not getting it right. And it's kind of a baffling situation when you start kind of looking at it and going, Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, like well-educated woman,
right.
surrounded by fantastic people, smart, intelligent folks.
Mhm.
She didn't think that printing $7 trillion was going to have some sort of inflationary method. Like it's baffling to me.
Well, I
But
think it's partially she was falling on her sword, probably for Biden or for the
right.
general. But there was also the thought that come into my head that you keep talking about this soft landing. Well, not everyone would watch her. Like if I didn't know you at all, I wouldn't even know that that video existed.
Right.
So really, it's hitting the people that are going to like slowly pull away that do it in a planned way. So maybe this is just another step in trying to find that soft landing. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and that's it's funny you say that because it does. It feels like they're still trying to dial this in, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the worst thing they can do. Like anyone that's in the market right now is hoping for the band-aid to just rip. And as soon as they pull that band-aid off, opportunities. The problem is that we've got to get bacon and eggs and milk cheap again for families,
Yeah.
or you're gonna have some real like political headaches coming down the pipe. Now I don't know if that's kind of what the design is, and that's where I'm concerned a little bit here, is that the more and more and more they botch this and baffle this for people, I struggle with what the outcome will be. So, and where we are with this, Yellen, the Treasury had this meeting with Jerome Powell today, yesterday in the White House, and more or less, like James, is it seems like she's just flopping on her shoulder. Biden steps in and says, "We're going to let Jay of the Federal Reserve Bank do what he's going to do." Well, the market says, "What is that?" Nobody knows what's coming. And they keep saying they're going to raise rates, they're going to do that, right? So the big kicker and the big question in everyone's mind is that are we going to hit a 2, 3, 4, 5% interest rate in the next year or two? If so, that's not account in the markets. Right? So I talked a little bit about different types of companies, excuse me, different type of corporations that are there right now that they don't have the income to move past their debt. Right? Even the interest. So one of the examples today was American Airlines. Like, that's not a small company. They have thousands, tens of thousands of employees.
Yes.
When you take American Airlines and you realize that they don't have enough cash flow to cover their interest on their debt, that's what they're being called, as the zombie corporation, these zombie companies, because they need more and more and more and more debt to survive. Well, this is not a time. If debt's more expensive, what happens? It's less and less available, right? Because you don't have to cover it. So American,
if they were to fail, that's a lot of higher end jobs. Like you're talking about a huge section of middle class because all of those jobs are highly paid.
right?
All the money is going back into the community from a higher paid source. If you lose those jobs, it'll be tough because where are these people, the baggage handlers and the people that are like into the airport things? Where are they going to find another job?
Right.
Another airport that's failing?
That's
It'll be tough to reintroduce them into the workforce.
Right. So that's where, you start looking at companies like that. Another one that is similar to this is like AMC. We talked about AMC, which is the movie organization, the movie company.
They're stuck.
Right. So they came out with their earnings, and there's just no money. Like they're getting crushed. And the only reason that they've had the stock run that they have is, like anyone that's been following this, is the short squeeze scenario where hedge funds, they rightfully so, they believe that this organization was going to collapse with COVID. Right. If you go to a movie, you can't spend $40 on $1 worth of popcorn. There's no profit in that, right? So when you have these people that are supposed to be the pros and they can't get past some very basic economics, that's concerning. But like you said, there is an election cycle that's starting up right now. So Trump was very heavy-handed in his approach with the Fed, and he's like, you need to lower rates. You need to be stimulating our economy. You need to. And Biden has stepped back, and he is doing his only policy that he's ever come up with is just anti-Trump. Whatever Trump would do, I'm walking away from that, right? And this is where we are right now, is that right, wrong, or indifferent, we're getting just an anti-Trump policy, and we're going to deal with the fallout. So that today, on top of, I don't know if you caught the second part of the clips that I had here.
I was unfortunately editing our videos from
right. Yeah, you got real what you're talking about, man. What's going on, right?
Yeah,
all the fun. But no, so Biden decided today, well, the United States is going to be sending satellite guided missiles into the Ukraine. So this becomes, this is the problem, right? So I thought we were winning. Are we not winning?
That was my understanding. That's what I've been told by the media, that we are winning, and And I also heard that we weren't going to get involved because it would make things more complicated. There was a bigger chance of World War II, III. We've already done two.
Yeah.
It went okay, not so great. But the whole point was we were trying to avoid World War III. Like, this is basically saying the U.S. wants to be involved. Like, that's a pretty heavy piece of equipment to just be handing over. Like, I know, they funded Afghanistan with helicopters and guns and all kinds of ammunition. So maybe it's the thing now. Maybe that's the new policy we're going to give our kids.
I think you're right, is that what they're doing is they're looking at proxy wars, right? So the U.S. and Russia, again, we're back to a more or less a Cold War stance. So Russia during the Cold War was in Afghanistan, and we funded the Mujahideen. So the Mujahideen then gets all these weapons, and they translate into the Taliban, who then we go into a war with them. Right?
Funded and trained
by the CIA.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it publicly back then because that was World War III. And now we're putting flags on everything, Ukrainian flags on every flagpole that'll hold one in the West, and now we're going to send them live ammo, right? The big problem with this, and where it gets really scary, is the fact that these munitions are not defensive; they're offensive munitions. So
absolutely.
These weapons now are able to shoot 100 kilometers into Russia to target whatever. Like, to say that they're like, we're going after their communications, we're going after their satellites, we're going after their military. That's what they said. Right. So now what are we shooting at? So what this does is it puts us in a very dicey scenario, because we have a couple countries that are wanting to join NATO, right? We've got Finland and Sweden that are wanting to band in with NATO. We have a country in Turkey, in Turkey. It's getting late. A country in Turkey that is saying, I'm very problematic with those two nations joining, because those two nations have funded some terrorist type organizations that we're battling in Turkey.
Right.
Turkey has
that's true, but I'm just
right. So Turkey has this potential to veto the entrance of these two nations into NATO. Well, now what do you do? What do you like? Now, you can't even get the NATO allies to be allies to fight the Russians that are apparently the aggressors that are going after everybody, right?
Right.
And this is where this all starts to get really kind of scary, because the Russians are finding ways to get rid of their oil. They're finding, and India, out of all countries, is taking in massive amounts of Russian agriculture, their resources. they're buying it on the cheap. China,
Right.
that was my next little film today. China's getting crushed.
Right.
Potentially the era of Chinese manufacturing is at a precipice.
Well, as I understand, they're all locked down. They can't go. They're where we were. What was that? A year and a half ago, where nothing was being built, no one was moving,
Yep.
no one was buying. Yeah, so they're manufacturing, and the fact that you mentioned, you told me, like I think it was earlier today, we were talking about it. You were saying that they want to get away from making dollar store goods, like cheap goods, fast goods. They're
Yep.
trying to get into a more middle class society, and it's hard to pivot to that when one, you're locked down, and two, that's a whole different kind of training. It's a lot easier to make a drink umbrella than it is to make a car or whatever.
Was that like an experience that you went with there? Drink umbrellas made in China? Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Why not?
You're absolutely right, though. When you have an underskilled, we're not going to call them an unskilled, but an underskilled workforce, where all of the technology that is brought in, whether it's, you know, let's use a company that we've all talked about before here in Tesla. That's American technology. That's American workers that went in and designed that plant. You have Chinese labor, right? And that's not an alien concept. So you have the brain trust, if you will, that is foreign, that is American, that is European, that has went to China and has just gone there for their ability to manufacture products. And that's been great. The problem is now is that so historically, we did this a couple times. We had colonialism, right? So you think back to the colonial powers, Britain, you know, the Dutch, the French, right? They went around the world and they colonized nations, ripped the resources out of them,
and brought them to their main country.
Right.
Yeah.
And they used those offshoots to develop and grow. Well, then after that, we said, oh, that's evil. We can't do colonization anymore. We're going to do globalization. We've all got to be in this together, right? That was the next step in the economic cycle, is this globalization. Well, when you step back out of globalization now, because that's kind of where we're at, nations are going, I can't trust you. I can't trust you.
For a while now, yeah.
Right?
That people are back away from more of a nationalist identity. Even Canada's been doing that a little bit, not supporting other countries as much in that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you have this happening, like let's take solar panels, for instance, right?
Right.
Can Canada produce solar panels? No. And the reason is that we've signed accords, we've signed treaties. Solar panels are incredibly terrible for the environment. The chemicals that go into them are toxic. So we do not produce solar panels here. We install them. We put them on your roof, right? We have electricians that will do that. But we do not manufacture solar panels to any capacity whatsoever because of the toxicity of the chemicals that are involved. Even batteries that are going into your green vehicles, lithium ion batteries and lithium sulfate batteries that they're going on about now, these are not clean products. So they're primarily manufactured abroad.
Well, they're clean after they're built. It's the process by which they're built that is so clean. And you probably wouldn't get a Canadian worker to work on such a thing because now we have all those health regulations and stuff like that. Like everything you do, you have to watch a video on it in Canada. We do it officially, even like, you know, pour water out of a boot. Make a video about that because someone might spill, and then we're gonna, you know, put up stickers everywhere. Like in the place where I work right now, there's literal like doorways, like tiny doorways that you open up, and inside is like a shut-off valve or something. On the door it says, "Careful, small room, maybe unsafe." Well, you can only fit your hand in. Like, I don't know what all these warning labels are necessary for, but anyway, yeah, I don't think you would get
any asshole stubbed their thumb and made it a case.
Right? Yeah. So we have all these warnings and we have all these like securities, and you know, for the most part, there's good. A lot of people died, but it's funny that we're not okay with building it here, but you know, if India builds it or China, well, we'll still buy it.
Yeah, over there, it's their over there problem, right?
Yeah.
So as we have a bit of a a move away from manufacturing abroad, we have this inevitable collapse of this globalization that we've embraced for the last 35 years.
Right.
Well, where do you go from here? Like if China can't get you your widget, whatever it is that you're manufacturing, in a timely, efficient, and cost-effective manner, why are you going to China?
Right.
You're going to pull out. Well,
Yeah.
where do you?
Yeah.
Right. So now, do I think that widget production's going back to Detroit?
No.
Probably not. Right.
Far too expensive to go to Detroit. But India might be okay.
Things go to Detroit to die.
The new Afghanistan, maybe.
But that's it, right? So what is the new China? And is it India? Is it these other nations? Or are these nation states going to become much more protectionist and isolationist, which becomes problematic? That's what stemmed World War II. It stemmed World War I. These were the conflicts that ended up kicking off some of the worst loss of human life in the history of mankind. So this is where this gets really kind of scary when you start tying all of the economics back together with Joe Biden going in and sending missions to a war zone openly.
The fact that you and I did a live, was that last night? Just last night? You did a live and you said the only way that the United States or Canada will get out of this financial crisis is if they spark a war. Watch out, folks. In the next couple of days, 2 or 3 days, you're going to hear the drum beats of war. I remember that as if it was yesterday, because I think it was yesterday.
It was too, yeah.
The very next day.
Yeah.
And the only reason to give an offensive weapon, this isn't like a protection rockets that if a plane comes in, it'll shoot it down.
Yeah.
I don't even think it has does it have the capability to shoot down a plane? It's specifically to target something in another country, as I know very little about ammunition, but I think that's long range rockets are built to attack building.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the scary part, is that we've went from the Ukrainians, we need to protect them because these big bad Russians are steaming through their cities, and we have to put hand grenades in grandma's flower box so that she can use them whenever she needs them, to now we've got grandma with Tomahawk missiles. What?
Yeah.
I think we're 79 days into the Ukraine conflict, Ukraine war, whatever we want to call it. And now we're on this precipice of, holy shit, this gets bad.
There's a war?
I didn't know if you knew this.
No. So Johnny Depp, I don't know if you're aware of this. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. That's what people are talking about at my work.
Insane.
The Ukraine war, they all have the flags, the Ukraine flag on their Facebook. But all they're talking about is today they're going to decide. I'm like, I do not care. I also don't care that Will Smith slapped someone.
Right.
But it's funny how the distractions are out there. Like, why would you live stream 2 billionaires? Well, maybe they're not both billionaires, but Johnny Depp definitely is a billionaire.
Yeah.
Having a domestic. They're both troubled people that just have your court case. Stop wasting our time. Unless you want things to be seen. Then it's perfect.
Right. Well, there's a gentleman named Epstein that we didn't hear a lot about during Ghislaine Maxwell's trial because of war and because of this.
Yeah. Now, there was a trial that was important.
Yeah, nothing. Nobody told you anything about it. You didn't hear anything about it. You don't know any of the clients that, insane.
We clearly know that Epstein killed himself.
Are you sure?
It was a flash, and then it was gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But that's where, again, yesterday we were saying about how the market and the trend of the market needs a precipitator to make a decision. And I would argue that today we had, some information from Yellen. Secretary Yellen comes out and goes, "Oh, sorry.
Oops.
We've just hammered the market for like 3.5 months here. 4 months here. Because we didn't think that printing $7 trillion.
Yeah.
It's not believable. It's not believable.
No.
I didn't
believe it, and I don't understand economics like you do.
Right.
Like
what is the game? What is the outcome here? And this is where I really do think that we talked a little bit about why Russia went into the Ukraine, and a lot of it goes down to is that this is their last chance for their security, right? Like when Putin says that there was Nazis in Ukraine, that's his propaganda. Okay, that's what he's pitching.
Yeah.
But the Russians have done the same thing that all the other Western countries have done. They've watched their society pivot down to an inverted demographics curve. And what I mean by that is that they are not going to have a war fighting demographic for another 25 or 35 years.
No.
This is their time to build a buffer zone, or they will never have it.
Yeah.
If they allow it to go the wrong way, they don't have war fighting aged people coming like the rest of us, right? We stopped having kids.
It's interesting you say that. So I was talking to my son about Top Gun because he went to see Top Gun yesterday, I think it was. Okay. And so I don't know if a lot of people know this. There's a psychology behind Top Gun. Back in the day when Top Gun came out, I was a young man, and it was the highest enlistment into the Air Force. They literally had Air Force recruiters inside the movie, recruiting people. And I find it interesting that right now, when we need it, because the American government helped them, trained them. The actors got trained. It's very cool. Like if you watch the videos, they actually know how to fly those jets. They actually are filming it while they're flying, and not passing out. I don't know how they do it. But it's interesting that back then they needed a lot of people, and this great war movie came out, and now it's happening again, and it was the biggest grossing movie, and I don't know.
Yeah, the opening was huge, right?
And I know my kids couldn't wait to see it. Haven't seen the first one, as far as I know.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
So I've always like a dream job for me has always been a pilot. Like if I could do it all over again, that's what I would have done. I love it.
You and I talked about buying planes.
We have 100%. Like it's
totally
the first million I got floating around. I'm getting a doozy. But
it's happening. Yeah.
Sorry?
It's happening. Oh yeah.
I'm in. The first million I'm in because that would be just a riot. So the big thing for me is that when we look back.
Soaring profits right on the side of it.
Right. The big thing for me is that when you go back into like Desert Storm and you go back into Operation Freedom and all of those things, is that there were, again, like you say, Hollywood jumped all over it and was bandwagoning all the military movies. I think that's a great link to that, right? So why was that movie not released earlier? Because it was ready, right? Like that movie's been in the can for a long time.
A little bit.
I think long before COVID.
I don't remember. But I think they were holding it because of COVID. I'm not exactly sure. I know it was a movie that they wanted to be able to release into theater, which makes sense. But it also is one of those movies. I know. I watched the original Top Gun. If there was a recruiter outside, I probably would have signed up. Like it just pumped you up. It made you think that being an a pilot was the coolest. You were the new cowboy.
That's it.
Guys, and I think they might have used that saying "cowboy in the skies" or something.
Right.
But right now, there's obvious. It's an obvious war drumming up. That's what they're talking about, and they're making decisions that aren't trying to create peace. No. Especially now, if you're moving in an offensive weapon, you're declaring war. Like I just don't know any other way about it.
Well, and that's the thing, right? So. Okay, so what does that mean for investing? Because that's kind of what we talk about here, right? So some of the big, economic powerhouses in the war industry, companies like Raytheon, Boeing, we looked at Boeing the other day, right? Lockheed Martin, some of the big companies, these military contractors, surprisingly aren't getting big boosts.
Palantir.
Well, so Palantir is interesting because Palantir has. This is part of the problem with Palantir, and I love Palantir, so I'm going to be gentle. But Palantir has alienated itself from about half of the world because it's on a Western ideology.
Yeah.
It is a supporter of Western ideologies. The issues that rise with that is that Western ideologies aren't even believing in Western ideologies anymore.
No.
So our Western way of thinking of freedom of information, yet privacy, is going the way of the dodo, right? You facially recognize to log in to all your banking stuff. You use your fingerprint. Like, what do you think they do with that?
Now every app asks me if they can use my fingerprint. Like every app. Like going into like a game. Not that I do that, but I can't remember. There was something I was doing and it was like,
Tinder, likely Tinder.
Might have been.
But no, like all of the apps that are being used, you do to pay, everything like that, is that they want facial recognition, they want geolocation, they want all these things. And that is sacred information, and we're walking that path.
In Tinder, you have to verify yourself, right? By taking a picture.
Oh, I wouldn't know. I don't. I'm not some sort of sexual predator.
Yeah, no. I know that about you. You don't slam it in Tinder. Yeah. Are they all watching right now? Is that why?
That's the problem. Yeah. No, that's the big thing, right? Is that, so what is that information doing? And Palantir finds itself in this weird position where they're trying to balance within the legalities of Western ideology with privacy, security, and all that.
But at the same time, having a program that can collect all our data and really use it as a powerful tool.
Powerful, right? So they said that they would not work with Russia. They would not work with China. China is, I would argue that they are way beyond us. And when we look what China's done today or in the last couple of days in releasing, like, they believe that they are benevolent in their viewpoint on allowing their citizens to get back to reality. And if you get a chance, folks, watch what we put out a little earlier today, where I show a clip from CNN, and I hate CNN.
Yeah.
They nailed it. This clip,
them releasing the people.
They are literally releasing the people, and the doors open up and people run.
Yeah.
Because the people are under the understanding that if there's one case of COVID, that it's all over again. They just lock it all down again.
Yeah.
People are fleeing. They're fleeing the cities. They're fleeing the communities. And if China demands a city-state type system, that's how they manufacture goods. They're not no manufacturing plants in the middle of the rice paddies, right? They're in the city centers. They're near the ports. Infrastructure has been designed for that. Well, when you have people that are fleeing because they're concerned of what their government is going to do next, that's problematic. And these aren't handfuls of people. These are hundreds of millions of people.
Right.
So again,
according to the video anyway, like, I have not had time to look at any other collaborating. No, that's not collaborating, but like evidence to support that. But yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like they're trying to get on planes. They're trying to get out. And you're absolutely, if you thought of a mass exodus from here, well, which people are leaving? Like, if one person leaves in certain jobs, the whole workforce can't work. Right. You know, if you have an engineer that leaves, well, he runs the whole show.
Yeah.
Then where are you from there? Right. You gotta train a new guy, which will affect us adversely. Like, we already are struggling with chips. I have a friend who bought a Jeep. I think we're a year and a half now. Bought a Jeep a year and a half ago, still doesn't have. So wow. Yeah. Because she's waiting for a specific kind of Jeep. I don't know, but the fancy Jeep that needs a special chip that they just haven't made. So she's waiting and waiting and waiting. But it's happening with a lot of things. And we have cars, like you and I drove by when you came and picked me up. I think we drove by the GM plant, and there was a ton of cars just sitting there. But yet there's none at the dealerships, you know?
Go buy Toyota. Toyota, Japanese car company in our community, has 4 cars on their lot before COVID. Like, if you go buy Toyota in Peterborough here in town, and you go buy, they have 4 cars. They have 1 car of each type. They have no different models, and that's the car. It's going to have whatever you want else in it when it comes, but we can get it. So right. So you've got salespeople that would have been making, you know, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year that are now taking, and they get paid when that order gets delivered, right? It's a trickle down situation. And this is where it gets really scary, is that when you get the exodus from the cities in China, that's your manufacturing, okay? But when they're leaving, where are they going to, right? They're flushing out of the city because of food.
Right.
right? They're leaving the cities because at some point they realize that in a city, and everything that people are talking about right now is shortages, 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 and we're going to hit food supply shortages, right?
That's what they're saying. Yeah.
Bill Gates is going out and buying farmland all over the United. He is now the largest farmer in all of the United States. Bill Gates is buying farms. You got to start asking.
I think he's the guy that more people need to worry about than anyone else. Like, right. I know he's a liberal and everybody loves him, but some of the things he talks about, the fact that he talked about a global pandemic.
Say it.
Before.
Say it.
Just is interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah. And it is. And when you start telling that we're not going to have food, we're going to have shortages, we're going to have mass shortages, and he's going around buying all this farmland for what?
Right.
Is he going to engineer our food supply for the next? Gates is an interesting guy. Like, there was a time when he's a monopolist, right?
Yeah. He's going at everything. He doesn't like sharing his tech at all.
He doesn't like sharing his tech, but his businesses that he drums up, if he can't create a monopoly, he will not go into that industry.
Right.
That's the issue with the biotech industry right now. Biotech, as far as investments, biotech is live by the sword, die by the sword. Like, you can go in and they can have an FDA approval and the stock will go 9,000% in a week, right?
Okay.
You get a Viagra and it changed the world, right? Like something silly. You get an FDA unapproval, we're going to prolong this. Money just flushes out of these companies.
Right.
When you have Bill Gates, who, Microsoft basically took IBM, that was a massive corporation long before he was there, and he built Bones, one of the largest corporations, was the largest corporation, made him the richest in the world for a long time. He is a monopoly. He wants to create monopolies wherever we have food shortages. He's buying up more land than anyone else. That becomes scary, especially if we're going to go into a conflictual time geopolitically. It's problematic. Right?
It is an interesting thing for sure.
Yeah. This is why we think it's kind of interesting, because, right, we talk about stuff that, people talk around the dinner table and that. Try to pull like a little economic spin on it. Try to, give a little bit of information, a little bit of conspiracy to keep it fun.
Just for fun. We slide it in under the door. But really, we don't know. Like, I'm not in the know in that things. I do my research. I look into things. I read a lot of stuff. And I think that you guys have to watch, maybe look up Bill Gates and, is he buying farmland? Go check it out. Yeah. Find it for yourselves. But Pat's absolutely right. Like, if he's buying farmland at mass quantities and everyone is saying we're running out of food, it's kind of scary. Like, he does a lot of things that it's to make money. It's definitely to make money.
I think
people keep on saying it's the goodness of his heart. He's a humanitarian. Then why he does everything to make money?
Yeah.
Like, anyway.
Well, I think when you said that, we don't know anything and we don't all this sort of thing, go look for yourself. I think the CIA probably turned off after watching that for a couple of minutes. So I think you saved us on that one. We will be arrested this week. Next week's podcast, so stay tuned.
Next week podcast, we're going to be shut down for sure.
Sure. But no, I think where we're at right now is we're at, again, this precipice. The market right now is sitting and waiting. They're, in a lot of sense, they're biding their time to see what Biden is going to do.
Right. Well, it's funny. Like, I am not a market guy. I'm starting to be, because I'm learning from you. I've learned a lot, I think, and I'm starting to understand it and see it. But I am at the point where I'm just like, just hit it already. Like, this slow trickle down is not working. I'm losing money daily every time you guys open your mouth.
That's it.
I drop. Hit it. Knock it out of the park. Let's get through this. Let's move on. We got to come out the other side of this, and we have to do it soon. Otherwise, people are going to suffer.
While we're on this, the stock market that has been bleeding terribly, I would like to say that I'm basically the last 3 or 4 weeks that I am up thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm up thousands. Cybin, the company that I've most recently jumped into, the Cybin. Cybin is a pharmaceutical play that is using psilocybin is the extract from magic mushrooms, and they're using it in derivatives for mental health treatment. And I looked at that a while ago. I've been in it for about 6 months now, and it got crushed, and riding it back up now, biting as it's going. So when you see that you're up $3,000-$4,000 a day, riding that back up, that's a nice little play in a market that we're at right now, right? So Palantir is going to come back. You just hold on to your horses. I promise you, we will see that rain come back. It's
no.
They
said, you and I have said, I'm using money that I don't need. I can set it on fire. Doesn't matter. Yep. And that's why I can sleep at night. I can go lie down and I'm not worried about it. I don't even think about it. Like, I used to look at it every day. And I think you mentioned, hey, have you looked at the markets today? I'm like, nah. I don't it's too busy. But I know when you say that, it's not going to be good.
No.
Yeah.
No. But that's the point, though, is that when we talk to people and we have these conversations, is that there's a lot of mistakes that we've made, because that's learning, right? I've paid lots of money into the University of Stock Trading.
Sure.
And that's the deal. And now I feel like I've got a bit of a system that I feel really good about, where I buy in at certain levels, I can get out at certain levels, and that's what I can do. And that's where this all started, is being able to watch the market and kind of be like, hey, shit, like, this is not rocket science. It just takes a little bit of moxie to be like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take a chance on that. Right. So I did. And for some of our viewers out there, we're watching Salesforce. So that was a customer service platform, and SAS. I got my butt handed to me. So it was up, I think, at a high of like 12 or 13% today. And I thought it was going to get wiped 12 or 13%, right? Just because the rest of the market, the entire market, like a sea of red, except for this one stock. And I'm like, ugh. But I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it because I thought that it was flushing. But I also gave some advice. I think that just the way with the macroeconomic trends would stay clear. And that's the thing.
But just because it was riding high today doesn't mean tomorrow it's going to ride high. Like, really.
I think it's going to get a shit out of it. But it's going to be nice, too. So it's one of those things.
That's the funny thing about the market, and that's what I've learned from you, is just because something happens today, it may not happen this afternoon or this evening. And right now, after market trading that you can control, because you're able to do that with your stuff. My apps don't allow me to do that. So at night, it's kind of scary when I wake up in the morning and go, I have no idea what, and I can't.
Right. Well, that's the Cybin. Like, for instance, today, this Cybin, when I look it up here, I've got, for the day, it was 0.49% up. So it was green, 0.49, really volatile throughout the day. But in the after hours trading, it's up 11.22%.
Wow.
So like, it's up 12% in the after hours. Now, that's going to sell off into the morning. I realize that. But if you're trading these movements, all this is volatility, folks, right? We see
sideways trading.
Sorry?
Sideways trading.
Sideways trading, right? You're getting this volatility, right? Look at him. He's learning.
I'm learning.
But no, but this is where if you get some stability and you can get the professionals out there that are saying, oh, $7 trillion. You can imagine inflation. All the that we get is fifth hand. It's been digested. It's been sent to the pros. They're sending out their that they talk to the public. That's what we get. So you have to think around them.
And there's also the effect that these people have their hand in the market and want to influence the market.
Yeah.
So they say things in a certain way that may be the truth, but they say it inflammatory so that you'll react, so that they will make money.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing that I can do, that buy companies I think are going to change the world. Not maybe today, not maybe today, but buy them that are going to stick and hold for a long time. And then you can sleep. Your long process is 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road.
Now, like when Brad researches, like he's shown the trend lines and all that stuff, and he's shown you how to map it on the stock.
Right.
But he also studies the actual company. He knows what the company makes. He knows what their future holds. He knows if they have something that's in the pipes ready to be launched. He knows if there's a failure. He knows if there's an FDA approval. He knows the whole picture. There's a lot to this. It's not just
there's a ton
that he's talking about.
That's where we want to boil this down to some easier things to do, and that's where over the next little while here, now that we've dialed in this a little bit, I love stuff. I think it's great. I think we're absolutely looking at that. But to be able to do this stuff here too, I think we're handsome guys. I think people like
yeah, we're good looking,
handsome fellers.
Yeah.
So if we can do this and have these dialogues, and then I can put something up and I can show people what I'm talking about, swing trading. So you're gonna wait for certain things to happen, then you're gonna buy. If it fails, you just get it right away. If not, you ride.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to get the entire movement, make 100%. But if you can make 50% of a move 4 or 5 times a year, that's 40, 50, 60%. That your mutual fund can be 3 and be like, no, really tough year.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they do. So, anything else you want to check tonight?
No, I got nothing. No, we did a couple of podcasts yesterday that I'm excited to launch, and some stuff about politics, mental health. Today I put out one about quitting. Don't quit. So we got a lot of exciting stuff. If you guys head down to our YouTube and just take a perusal, you'll find something you enjoy. And I know that if you watch this stuff, your life will improve. I'm just telling you right now. You financially you'll improve, mentally you'll improve, physically.
You're a specimen. You're a specimen.
I'm a specimen.
For
78, I think I look pretty good.
Is that how that works? 78 now is that what we're telling you?
78. That's what I'm going to tell people from now on. I think it will play better. Yeah. But no, I just want to. Sorry?
Did you find the button today? Leave that one for another, folks.
That's another day. That's another podcast. We'll save that one. I did not find the invisible shield button, but
we'll get on that one.
Yeah, but
we're watching this.
In fact, I wasn't even knowing if it was upside down or right side up. So
that was a good one. I love that, by the way. So, folks, as always, it's a pleasure. We love doing this stuff. I hope you guys like doing it. Like, subscribe, share, all the things that you know what to do. Hit that little thing down there. Now that we're doing these lives, like you can hit this when you subscribe. It'll pop up and bing, let you know when we're doing this.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff to throw on in the car when you're going to work in the morning. You want to engage people at work. This is what we do. The conversations that we're having. This is how you talk with your boss, and your boss goes, "Holy shit! They know what's going on in the world. Maybe we have a different conversation when it comes to you got a project coming up. You think a little laterally more than everyone else. Like Amber Heard lost, right? Like step out of your comfort zone and enjoy some of these other things."
And this is where our podcast started, is us having intelligent conversations and different viewpoints and arguments and stuff like that. And we just, we're hilarious and we think people need to hear it.
We're certainly getting funny. Yeah, we're funny looking mostly, but that's what it is.
Mostly, yeah. But no, man, comment. We're starting to get some traction from your profiteers where you're getting some questions. I've got a little traction from, I still don't have a name for you guys. So if you got a name, for my followers, let me know.
Yeah.
Not sure, but even on these lives, I think that you can live comment, and we'd be happy to interact with you during the live. That'd be awesome. I'm looking forward to the future. I know it's going to be great. We got a lot of great ideas planned in the future. I know soon we're going to be teaching you how to pick a house to buy if you want to buy it for a rental property or a commercial property, stuff like that. Show you a couple of the houses and tear it down for you how, money versus in versus out, as Pat has eloquently explained, and some other stuff on mental health and just
wellness. What you're doing with wellness. Was it yesterday that you did the run, or was that today?
Today was the one. It'll come out tomorrow where it was all about quitting and not quitting on your family, not quitting on the people around you, most things, don't quit on yourself ever. There's always a way out. There's always a way out. When you are pinned down to the ground, knocked out on the mat, there is always a way up to get back up. And if you don't seek it, that's when problems start arising. That's when evil starts slipping into your life. That's when toxicity. Wow, I'm having trouble with words. It's really
been a day.
4 hours editing. But yeah, so yeah, no, it's a really interesting video about. I kind of share some of the problems I've had in my life. Not all of them, but I touch on them and talk about how you overcome.
Absolutely. No, it's a great tomorrow. Like, it's worth paying attention for tomorrow, just with that conversation. It's a great run that he does, and all the things that's going on during that run and the trials and tribulations for it. So it was pretty cool when I got to see it this afternoon. So, folks, as always, thank you for joining us again. Like, subscribe, and share. And
I've learned now, you got to ding the bell. That's how you know if a video is coming.
There you go.
Yeah.
Folks, thank you again. Talk to you real soon. And as always, James,
let's make some money together.
I love it. I got to see you now too. Thanks. We'll talk to you real soon. Have a great night, guys. Take care.